I was just thinking, I was like just thinking about phones deeply, like that we all like have them right next to us and how it's like the anti-presence device. Like the idea of a phone, like what is it? Like the only reason you have it is so you could do something not connected to where you are right now. I mean, obviously we all need phones and it's practical and everything, but like really, do we really? You know, like we're here, we're engaging with what we're actually doing. It's like, what does a phone actually provide us with? So much, but at the core, just like takes us out of where we are. The second you're in your phone, you're no longer where you are. And it's like incredible because you could do a million things from where you could not be where you are, right? Like you could be in Australia and you could be here and you could be changing the world. And it's amazing. But it's also, I was just like looking at it, I'm like, wow, it's like a little device that's next to you that takes you out of presence. A little, like if we called it that instead of a phone, it's like your anti-presence device. Like, the second you pick it up, you're out of your, probably out of your body even, but out of the room you're in and you're in the whole universe. So yeah, just thinking about that and feeling that and just like kind of feeling sad about it. Okay.
So the APD, huh? I mean, I totally hear what you're saying, or the essence of what you're saying, but it also doesn't really ring so true to me. Like, practically, you're saying the only thing that a phone's uses to take you out of presence is something that you're not doing here. But it's not true. People use their phones. I was journaling on my phone last night. Music helps you to be present. You know, put on music on your phone. You're here. You could have a tracking device. You could have a workout app on there that's totally keeping you present in what you're doing. It's keeping track of your reps and um, so many ways that phones facilitate whatever it is that you're doing to help you do it more, to help you do it deeper, more consistently. Yeah. And there's levels. Like,
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, I'm not.
say working out an app
Yeah,
counting reps is taking you out of the present moment
yeah.
because you could just be in your head counting it.
Well, first of all, you're talking about certain things that you could be doing on your phone that you're turning on, but then the engagement goes back away from your phone and your phone is in the background, right? Like playing music or even counting steps or reps or anything. Like you turn something on and then you go back and lift the weights or whatever it is you're doing, right? You're not in the phone. You're using the phone as a tool and then you're back in your life versus when you're actually like just staring at the phone when you're using the phone full on.
Yeah, but you were saying here we are, we're about to have a conversation and our phones are like right near us. And they just take us out of presence. The only reason they're here is to like give us access to something somewhere else.
I'm not saying that's the only reason they're here. First, I wasn't even thinking about it like, oh, we're sitting down and we have our phone. But I was just looking at it and like, first I was looking at your case. I'm like, oh, your case is cool. I was looking at my case. I was like, we have these little like gadgets, right? Like everyone has like right by their side, all of the time. And obviously there's varying degrees of people who have healthier relationships to their phone, people who are, you know, whatever, unhealthier relationships to it. And, um, yeah, I was just thinking about it. I'm like, it's just this thing that, I mean, I was thinking about it because I struggle with presence. And I was just like, even sitting here waiting for you, it's like I have the urge to just like pick up my phone and do something, be productive, be essentially somewhere else and just in the present moment of waiting for you, which is important. It was like, it's okay. Like and I've been working on that for myself and feeling into like spaciousness and being even bored or impatient and not right away just being soothed by my phone or by whatever it is that's going to soothe me from discomfort of, oh, I'm like waiting for you. You're not ready to sit down and record. And it's okay. So I could pick up my phone and do a million things. But I was just like, no, like what if I just am here still? I don't have to disappear and be in another universe. I'm just a wife waiting for her husband. Like, could that exist? And so I was just thinking about phones. And then I was thinking that, um, not that like, oh, the only thing it does, obviously there's incredible uses for it, but like if I had to strip it down to like one thing, like if I had to just think like it's really all the benefits that there are, also just it's essentially whatever. it's not, I'm losing my train of thought a little bit, but like just when I was tapping into a place of like what presence means and the gift that presence is and the the bliss and the pleasure and the joy that a person is gifted when they make peace with presence, make peace with the now, with what is, with life, when they're here, what a gift that is. And you're here in the room and you're here and you're outside and you see the sun and you feel the sun and you see the trees and you see the grass. Like what a gift it is to be where you are. And if a person can slow themselves down enough to, and, you know, feel safe enough to be here, what, how much, amazing beauty and joy and pleasure there is in that, and how, um, I have a craving or desire for like simplicity, for simpler times, for, when engaging with someone, it's like face to face, right? When it's, when, you're in community, when you're in a village, you're living on a kibbutz, you're just like, there's just simpler, you're milking the cow and you're coming home, right? There's like a simpler way of being, which, yeah, it doesn't have all the amazingness and wonder and grandiosity and interconnectedness of like phones and internet and Instagram and everything that you have, but how like there's such a, for me, like there's a desire and a pleasure in that, and I guess just like keep coming back to like just pleasure of just the simplicity and allowing yourself to have that simplicity, allowing that to be enough, allowing, like I was saying, just waiting for you to this, like the space in that. Like, can I allow myself the okayness in just the more boring parts of life, the less stimulating things, but just when you pass that barrier of like, oh, this is boring, I want to like just look something up or do something or be productive. But when you give yourself space and realize like, oh, wow, like this really is life. Like this is what it's all about. And like when you lean into that, just like this like sort of sense of peace and safety that I feel when I sort of allow that for a little bit and be like, oh, wow, I'm not on a, you know, rat wheel just spinning and spinning and going. But there's just life. And you tap into, I guess, like the energy of life, that life is constantly moving and going, and that you could actually be still in it and how like feel the world move around you versus like meeting that frequency of like go, 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 go. And I'm not saying don't go. I'm not saying don't take action. I'm not saying don't create your life. But like, I think we've lost the balance where go and slow, right? Breathe in and out. Ruts of a shoe. Like there's this like, so I was looking at our phones. I was like, wow, like it's just a device that takes you essentially like, why do you need your phone with your family out? Like why do you need your phone to be somewhere else? Why do you need your phone if you're on a date with your spouse? Like why would you need, what is it? It's just like a thing that gets you out of where you are. I'm not saying that's the only reason people use it, but essentially it's like, why do you need to have access to anything else when you are with what you're doing? Yeah, obviously as a mom, you make sure the babysitter could text you. Like, right, there's obviously reasons. As a doctor, you're on call, someone's going into labor, right? Like, I'm not saying it's pointless, but at the core, even those things, it's like they're a blessing and they're also just like, they allow us to kind of be everywhere and nowhere at the same time. So it's like you could be everywhere, but you also always struggle being anywhere. Like, am I really home or am I somewhere else? Am I really here? Am I really here waiting to record a podcast with you? Or am I like in the 5 seconds that's taking you to make your tea to sit down? Am I like in a million different places, And is that a gift? Like, oh, wow, incredible. I could be running my business while I'm waiting for you to do the podcast. Or is it stripping away all of the pleasure of life? Because recording a podcast isn't the second you press play and then the second you hit end. It's all of it. It's coming in, it's the energies, it's feeling your energy, it's making contact. I could be talking to you while you're making your tea. I could be sitting here. You could just be seeing me watching you, right? All of the space, which I was saying, the pleasure and joy, almost the actual purpose of the things is sometimes the thing around the thing. Or are we only here for like climax experiences? Like boom, 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 like hit me, like, okay, podcast and boom. And like we glorify it in like ways of like, wow, like the things we can accomplish in a day, right? Or like, and sort of like we value all the stuff we could get done and how much we can balance and how much we could do. And, and it is incredible that we can do so much. But yeah, just like I was like just tripping a little bit, like looking at our phones and like looking at the cases and just be like, oh, these like devices that are just like essentially like, because I've been on a journey towards presence, I think, which is what really any healing, any true healing journey is presence. And I'm just like, and I read something recently about, I forgot where it was and I forgot the line, but like it was something about like, can you feel like the world, instead of you moving in the world moving around you, like a sort of like this can you find safety in that where it's like even you're still, it's not like, oh, I'm not doing anything, nothing's happening, I need to do. It's like, can you feel that the world is constantly doing and moving and right there's Hashem and like where you could just like be witness to it sometimes as opposed to always go, 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 And so yeah, I guess I've just been in that frame of thought and then like just thinking that about our phones. Obviously there's so much gift but like I think we're really lacking the gift of being where we are, slowness, boredom, emptiness, void, which obviously you don't want too much of a void, but a little bit of space just to feel out where you actually are, what's actually going on, who you are, what you actually like and don't like. And we're so distracted, we're so soothed by productivity or by doom scrolling or whatever it is that like it's like we wake up 10 years later and be like, what the fuck is going on? Like we're not feeling the signs. We're not feeling our boundaries. We're not feeling our yeses and our nos. We're like just numbing ourselves. And then it takes like a big event to kind of be like, oh, wait, like nothing is working in my life or whatever it is. Or like, this is really not working, but like you just didn't give yourself enough space to just have space for thoughts and feelings and being. And I think it's really hard to do that and have a phone. Just even someone who's even more disciplined on their phone isn't like quote unquote addicted I think it's impossible not to be. But someone who has healthy habits is still, even if I'm healthily doing things on my phone, even if I'm, ordering things for the kids or planning my Shabbos menu or all the things I have to be doing, it's like there's always another thing that I could be doing to avoid just presence and being here in the now. So yeah.
Yeah. Everything you're saying totally resonates with me. And the word that was coming to me so strongly as you were choosing your words to describe it was anticipation. When we're in those gaps and in those in between spaces, and we're like, oh, space needs to be filled with something. Like we lose out on anticipation, which is huge. I was thinking about it, how I was making the tea. It's not like I was making the tea in another room, even. I was making the tea 9 feet away from you, and you already have your headphones on. We've already like did the sound check, like we're ready to go. And really, like you were saying, the podcast really started already. Like we're here together. It's not like, okay, press play now, be in presence, which by the way, when we started, I totally was not in presence. Listening to you speak helped to really, I was like consciously utilizing the moment of you talking to ground in, and then everything you were talking about was about presence. But yeah, like you're saying, people expect to just click their fingers and be like, bam, or we get whiplash. We're like, oh, what the fuck is this? It's like a woman having sex with her husband. It's like all of a sudden she's being penetrated, and it's like, yeah, where was the foreplay? But even before the foreplay, where was the anticipation? Where was the imagination? Right? And what allows for that? The only thing that allows for that is actually being in no man's land, being in an empty space. And in that empty space, you can find yourself. You can project yourself into that space, right? Like, ooh, what's coming? What might I expect? What do I want? What are the surprises going to be? What does this look like? And that in itself is grounding into self and presence. And then when the peak experience comes, right? When the climax comes, when the intercourse comes, you're really there for it. You can really receive it. You can really experience it. But yeah, we really do chase peak experiences. People do it. We do it all the time, and it's a chemical thing in large part, the way our bodies are created by Hashem. And Um, we get bored very easily, and we want to be in the peaks all the time. And people do it with psychedelics, people do it in relationships. And the second they're not in the peak, they start to question everything, right? Their whole life, their value, the truth of the relationship. It's actually like the sign, I think, of a healthy person. This presence you're talking about, really, it's like any healing journey is really about presence. I think the real sign of a healthy person is, can you be in the low, quote unquote? It's not. I mean, it's just the low relative to the peaks, right? The valleys to the
The
peaks.
exhale
Yeah,
before the breath, before you're filled with breath, can you be when the breath is out and trust that you're going to be filled and it's going to go in and out. Could trust the process.
right. Or do you start to just question like the foundations of reality and like your role in it? Like, and obviously that's also a part of healthy being, and that's part of being in the low, like having, but like,
Hmm.
can that questioning come in and you still be okay? Like, it's not to deny the questioning and be like, oh no, I'm totally fine. This isn't a low. I'm going to be right back into the
Hmm.
highs. No, it's like, no, this is a lull. It is a low. It is a valley. And yeah, I'm looking over my shoulder and realizing I just had a peak experience. It's so beautiful. And I know another peak experience is going to come, and it's okay to be in the questioning. We talk about this with your cycle. Like, it comes a point in the month where like everything needs to go, everything needs to burn and die, and be just expelled and whatever, um, expunged. Is the word I'm looking for, and start afresh. Yeah, expunged. Google that shit.
Very fancy.
It's very messy. Yeah. So everything you're saying, yeah, I totally relate to. It's uh It's really wild the degree to which we are disabling so much of our humanity by not allowing for the in-betweens. And honestly, like, where would we be without Shabbos? I was thinking about this past Shabbos. Like, wow, it's a lot to even unpack the degree of how much Shabbos saves our lives. There was a point on Shabbos where I was coming down to the Shabbos meal or whatever, and I could grab the pair of socks. I stuck it in my pocket, and then I went to pee before Kiddush or whatever. And I Pavlovianly reached for my phone in my pocket.
Because you had your socks in your
It was
pocket.
my socks in my pocket, but I'm used to, like, every time I go to
Yeah.
pee, like, okay, I have a second, like, quickly, like, refresh the news, especially with everything going on in Iran. And without any thought, completely Pavlovianly, just reached for my phone, which was just a pair of socks.
Mhm.
And it's like, that's how I'm wired. And I can imagine if I didn't have that once a week, like, untethering, that, like, opening those circuits that closed circuit, right? It's just a loop over and over and over again. Literally, it's a loop. It's a neural pathway that's a loop that gets
Mhm.
embedded, and it gets dug deeper and deeper and deeper. And I had a moment where I got to like reach for my phone, realize it's a pair of freaking socks in my fucking pocket, and be like, holy shit. Every single second that I'm not
Yeah,
in
like
an
someone's not
engagement.
stimulating you
Yeah.
externally in the
I'm
world.
I'm pulling out a chemical filler
Yeah.
to fill
Pacifier.
in the gaps. And that's from the outside, but on the inside, chemically, it's like there's this drop in dopamine, right? Because
Mhm.
I'm not engaged, and it's like filling it in,
Mm.
right? That's on the positive side, like I'm filling it in. But on the negative side, like you're saying, it's a pacifier. I'm filling in a void,
Soothing.
yeah, to keep things level, right? And
Mhm.
it's like, holy shit, if I can't have 5, 6, 10 of those little bathroom breaks during the week or during
Mhm.
the day, excuse me, where I'm like able to go in and like drop out of active mind engagement, where the mind can then process passively, whether it's imagination, whether it's philosophizing or questioning or fantasizing, right? Lusting, like just like allowing the mind to like go where it wants to go. Like, I just had a conversation with a child. Did I even give my brain a second to be
Mhm.
on off, to reflect for a second? Like, how did that go? Like, how did my child, I just said something to my child just before I went into the bathroom. And now I'm in the bathroom. Like, did I take a second for my mind to actually like receive the facial expression, which was their reaction to what I had just told them? Or am I just filling it in, right? To not have to feel, to not have to reflect, to not have to carry any
Mhm.
shame or guilt about anything because like I never give myself the downtime to experience it. But that's basically what I find myself doing in one form or another all the time.
Right, but also even on a more practical level, you're saying when you're peeing, and it's like, are you looking at your pee? Are you checking if you're hydrated, dehydrated? Are you in touch with the actual thing you're doing, which is like actually, are you here? Right? It's not even like what you could be doing in your mind
Right.
if you weren't reading the
It's
news
not
or
just where
whatever
I'm
or
not.
Instagram, but it's like you're in the bathroom. Is it time to check in with your actual bodily functions? How are you feeling? How is your stomach? Are you hungry? Are you thirsty? How cloudy is your urine? Right? Like and you could be like, oh, well, I don't know. I didn't look at my urine. I was looking at
Very cloudy
Trump, speaking about Iran, like very cloudy.
with a chance of
Yeah.
a lot of fucking sunshine.
um, so it's like we're missing the actual tangible physical things that are going on because we're staring at a phone instead of staring at the world. And then it's like I said before, you find yourself like lost. You miss the signs for things, not in touch with and then you need to go every 6 months to the doctor. And then you get your this and you get that to get checked on. But like if you were just awake and alert, check yourself. I'm not saying you don't have to for doctors, but it's like you don't need the doctor to do a breast examination you could be doing it yourself. You could be in touch with your own body. You could be looking at your own body. You could be um, with yourself in the bathroom instead of halfway across the world. And if you're present in your body, you know what's right and what's wrong. You know what needs to be checked out, what doesn't. You know there are signs. It's not true that it's like, oh, there were no signs and all of a sudden I went to the doctor and no, there are signs. It's just that they're on a level that you cannot be aware of if you're constantly distracting yourself with outside noise. So yeah, there are no signs. But if you could get to a level of presence and comfort with being in stillness, stillness has so much to offer you. Stillness has the answer to all of your problems, physically, mentally, emotionally. Stillness has all of the solutions. Spaciousness and stillness and presence. And like I'll go to like a meditative yoga class and I'm just, in stillness and it's not really such a workout. So I'm not like challenged. And it's just like sometimes it's more challenging like mentally. And I'll like sometimes just have like downloads of like, oh my God, like I have such awareness of like, oh, like what was I thinking? Like, of course, this is gonna help this, or this is what I'm gonna do. And then and what did I do? I just slowed down my breathing. I mean, I made space, all right. I made a container for that, and that's one type of being. But I just slowed down and was in quietness. And yeah, I'm also being there's like a little bit of music and I'm being directed to like pay attention to my breath and soften. So there's those tools help, but essentially I'm just stopping. I'm just pausing. And then it's like you just let life keep moving and let life figure it out. Let the energy force, right? Like, the universe, Hashem, right? Like there's a pulse of the universe that's constantly beating and you don't have to match it. You don't have to pretend that you're like actually beating for it. Like you could just rest and then like hear it and be like, ooh, yeah, okay, but it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because I don't know why. Meaning I could say because this, because that, because we're actually addicted to hits of dopamine because we're actually addicts. So it's uncomfortable, I think, baseline, but that's even more uncomfortable when you're used to being, well, I don't know if it's uncomfortable baseline, but when you're used to being constantly stimulated, your mind being constantly stimulated, what's happening on my phone, I'm going from social media to like making purchases, ding, 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 like ordering something. Sometimes a link from social media.
Mm.
Then I'm going to like messaging. Like it's like hitting everything, like I'm literally shopping and this and that. Like, I'm holding my phone, like on my way to the bathroom, like my kids are out there, like it's just, and I have no plans to make any changes right now. I'm just going to put that out there. That's not my, because I do have those parts of me like, all right. And then they like, lock it down, but like that's not my goal isn't like to get rid of my phone. Like I'm not in that place. Although, yeah, I would like my goal is to have my phone. That one's mine. Yeah, thank you. My goal is to have my phone, you know, not in my hand while you're making a tea before the podcast, right? Like there's micro ways that I want to I plan on keeping this in my mind, it's all part of my growth. It's not about like locking my phone up right now for me, but, just something to think about, something to talk about. And I know for me for sure. Um, I have a hard time with boredom, with like emptiness, with, like sometimes in the afternoon, like before you get home from work and the kids and that like sort of few hours where it's like dinner, just child caring. And I feel like empty. I feel like bored, even though sometimes it's
Mhm.
engaging, right? I'm not boring, but I'm like, this is not stimulating me. I don't feel lit up. I feel like I'm just waiting for the hours to pass. I'm waiting for you to come home. I'm like, I'm on my feet a lot and I'm just like not satisfied. And I'll have my phone, which will like soothe it enough just to be like, whether that's just like, even if it's like answering, if it's not social media, but it's just like answering messages and you're just feeling a little more productive, a little more like outside of where you are. And it helps like short term, it's helping me get through the day. Um, but, along the lines of what we're talking about, it's like, well, maybe the discomfort is something I just need to move through and it will eventually pass. It's just a discomfort of like not feeling productive that I'm wired to feel, but it's actually okay. And once I sit with it and I don't have my phone for a few days and I feel into it, I actually can make peace with it and be okay. Or it's like this time of day is like extremely difficult for me. I need more stimulation during it. I need something. Maybe it's getting a babysitter. Maybe it's like, and then there could be like the solution to the problem. Because like if I'm feeling like, oh, this isn't working for me. And like I said, either seeing if I could just lean into it and allow it to work. And maybe it's just the initial resistance. Or once that initial resistance passes, it's like, um, okay, well then maybe there could be a solution. Maybe there could be a way that I change this afternoon hours and do make more space for myself. But as long as I have my phone every day kind of numbing and soothing me, I'm never going to do either of those things. I'm never going to either move past the resistance and actually find a way to enjoy that time or hire the babysitter to come and get out for a walk during that time because I'm just like, no, this isn't working for me. But instead, it's not working and it's uncomfortable and my phone is filling the gap of like making it manageable. And then that's that. Instead of actually like I said, either fully leaning in or leaning out, whatever
Mhm.
it is. Like, and then you wake up like 10 years later, like, like I'm so frustrated. This is frustrating. Like you don't really ever like look at it clearly with enough space and time because like we're just kind of like soothing ourselves and not really being in the presence, you know? Um,
Present enough to experience the dissonance. It's not presence doesn't mean without resistance and without
mhm,
dissonance. Presence means being present to the totality of what's
mhm,
there. And until you're present to what is, there is no way that anything could ever change. Starts with
mm,
presence. Presence doesn't mean like sitting in the lotus position and being
mhm,
like, oh, I love
pleasure.
hanging out with my kids. Oh my God, it's so much fun. I love cooking dinner and like pairing, bathing the kids and just like, no, presence means like, okay, this is uncomfortable. Ooh, I'm noticing I want to push this one away. I'm noticing I'm like blaming this one for that. I'm noticing, discomfort in my body. I'm feeling something in my tummy or in my chest. Like, oh, why do I always get like a little dizzy at this hour? Or like, tension in my temples, like, or my jaw gets really tight. Like, what is it about my experience right now? And all of that is there for you, meaning it's not like, how do I overcome my resistance so that I could be a better mom for my children?
Mhm,
It's like, all of the external stimuli is pointing you back to you. Like, where are you not nourished enough? Where, yeah, are you not getting enough sunshine or water, literally or metaphorically, in your life? Where you're not receiving love and attention and presence and affection, um, either as a gift to yourself or from your spouse or, from nature or others. So think that's a big, I think, misunderstanding that people have about healing and about presence and all these things is like they hear the words and they're like, oh, it's this or that. It's like, why can't I just meditate with presence? Like, why can't I just empty my mind? And no, like the process of meditation is meeting the thoughts that are distracting you. It's not getting over them. Um, like there's the external form of something, and people often get trapped in what that external form looks like, not realizing that the way it looks from the outside, right? The form is not quite the function. Like it might look very pretty. Somebody holding a yoga pose, but inside they're like, I want to fucking kill my mother, or like, I want to commit suicide right now. I can't hold this pose anymore. I want to kill the yoga teacher. Like, yeah, it looks very pretty. Like, wow, look at her body and look at her strength and the way she's holding her pose. It's so graceful. And like, everyone's trying to keep their face like in a neutral. And like inside, there's like every alarm is going off and every like insecurity and fear and like cursing out God. It's like, oh, I want to be like her. She embodies presence. So I'm going to put on the form. I'm trying on the form and there's a shit show going on inside. There's a fire burning the building down. I'm like wondering, well, why can't I get it right? Why can't I just be like her and have that Zen presence? Like, no, has a practice of meeting resistance. That's what her yoga is. Her yoga is her weekly, daily, whatever practice of meeting her resistance. You want to look at it from the outside in, it looks very hot, but it's not. So it's exactly what you're saying. And you're explaining it so beautifully. It's like being present means being with everything that's coming up in that moment. It's not going to feel pretty. It's going to feel like dissonance. It's going to feel like resistance. It doesn't mean it always has to stay that way. If there's any chance of it ever shifting into something else, it's only going to be because you're actually meeting it. And meeting it doesn't mean battling with it. It just means being with, and the being with is where the healing is. I often think about it as just in the work that I do and the work that I've done myself in my own healing journey and what I channel to my clients. It's not like be present so that you can help people, like so that you can bring healing. It's like presence is like a conduit. And through that conduit, what do you bring? You bring healing, you bring advice, you bring insight, you bring reflection, it's like, no, the healing is the presence. Like what most people didn't get and the reason why they're so injured and hurt in all the different areas, like it expresses itself in so many different ways, right? In so many different symptoms. But the original wound is just a lack of presence, meaning nobody was ever with them in their pain. So their nervous system never learned how to sit in their pain. So people come to healing or to a therapist and their thought process is, I'm here to heal the pain, meaning please help me to get rid of the pain. And it's like the whole process is like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's slow this way down. Like, I am not here to help you to get rid of pain. I'm just gonna help you, right, in whatever way, mostly through example, right, to be able to sit with the pain, the discomfort, because you never learned that. And in fact, you learned the opposite. You learned that anytime you brought your pain to the evolved quote unquote nervous system in the room, meaning the adult nervous system in the room, that it shut them down. Their nervous system started to spiral when they saw your pain. So they were scared of your pain and they were the adult in the room. So how much more so you needed to be afraid of your pain. And what you needed was not for your parent to remove the pain, the source of the pain, was simply for them to model what it looks like to actually be able to be with the pain. That's the healing, right? Any healer is just somebody who can actually has a nervous system that's wide enough and deep enough to be able to sit with obviously, first and foremost, their own pain. They'd never be able to do for anyone else if they can't do it for themselves. That is the wide and the deep, right? How wide and deep have you gone? Once you do that, you could sort of lend your nervous system, right? By sitting with someone, quote unquote, holding space. What is holding space? It means that you can bring whatever's coming up for you while I stay completely and totally grounded and regulated,
Right.
which allows for the flow of compassion and so on.
Yeah. When you're talking, I'm thinking about it's like any phobia or fear. What is like healing is healing your fear of pain. And um, when you have a fear of something, like I used to be really afraid of
Mhm.
dogs. So one way to go about the world being really afraid of dogs is like, I can never be around any dogs, and you need to make sure that anywhere we go, there's no dogs. And anytime we enter a park, we need to scour and find and tell those people to put their dogs back on the leash. And anytime I go to someone's house, I need to find out if they have dogs. I need to get rid of the dogs. And that's one way to deal with my fear. And so you're going to therapy, like, I need to get rid of the pain. Get rid of the pain. I don't want the pain. How do I get rid of the pain? How do I heal the pain? Because I'm afraid of pain. And then the other way, which I have healed my fear of dogs, is to, and whatever that actually looks like, whatever that experience of healing is, whatever that modality, whatever that journey is of healing, but essentially be like, there's nothing to be afraid of. And slowly becoming more and more comfortable around dogs, slowly becoming more and more comfortable with your pain, and realizing that there's nothing to be afraid of. Yes, it's a dog. It's here. I'm okay. Yes, it's pain. It's here. I'm okay. And basically what you're doing is you're not only healing your past pains, but you're actually setting yourself up for a life that you can now handle, because there's going to be future pains. There's going to be more dogs. You're not just like healing a wound. It's a total healing of your system, which is now feels safe to interact with pain. And you realize that the thing you were scared of, it's the same thing. The dog did not change. The dog didn't change. I'm not like, the dogs are now safer in the universe, and now I'm less afraid of them. Nothing changed except for my own nervous system realizing that it's okay. And whatever else that looked like is part of my healing. And so like the pain doesn't change. The past pain does not change. The experience does not change. The future pain you're going to experience does not change. Like life, whatever that looks like. In the day-to-day pains of like micro disappointments and little things that are just part of life, and in the larger scale of trauma that we pretty much all experience. There's death in the world. There's this in the world. I mean, there is pain. But if the healing is, right, and then I think presence is, all part of that journey, is like, can you realize that it's not something that you have to be afraid of? And why were you afraid of? Like you said, when you were growing up and you experienced pain, your parents' nervous system, your caretaker's nervous system freaked out. You felt that so strongly. It was equivalent to like, disaster in the universe. It was equivalent to like, a bomb threat, whatever it is. You don't know the difference. It was bad. It's just bad. And your system was like, avoid this at all costs. This is dangerous. This is scary. This is horrible. And through healing and through a safe therapist, coach, guide, you can come back to those experiences, but now safely show your system that actually like it's not true. Like that 1 + 1 = 2 equation that you made, which is pain equals disaster, terror, whatever it is actually not a true. And you can undo that equation to then the pain can just be pain, but you don't have to be in fear. And then everything changes. Everything changes. And also nothing changes, because that's what nothing changes. You still have your same exact history and journey, and nothing at all changes except for your own safety and your own ability to be with what is, right? Be with what is, which comes back to present, be with pain. Like I said, if I'm trying to avoid something, it might be because it's actually uncomfortable. This isn't like, why do you have to get off your phone? It's amazing out here. Like, just be in the bliss. Like, that's not the point. The point isn't like, if you would just be off your phone, you see how amazing it is. No, you might see how horrible it is. But the point is, be with it. And then from there, allow it to move. Allow yourself to be inspired to move it. Allow Hashem to move it for you. Allow whatever it is. The only way it's going to move or change is the first step is just be with it, And I don't mean like radically, harshly. And that's why I said I have no intention of locking up my phone. This isn't about like bullying yourself into presence. This isn't about like, just be with. Like, sometimes you really absolutely cannot. But when you try to be with and you realize you can't, or you see what's coming up, help yourself. Support yourself. Whatever that looks like, right? With a therapist, with your own self-practice of doing 1 minute of meditation a day and then doing 2 minutes, whatever it is that you can be gentle with yourself, and the fact that like we can sit here and say, oh yeah, all it is presence. And if only we were presence, if only we put our phones away, like, and understand that this is the actual biggest struggle of our generation. We're not running from the Holocaust. We're not, in fight or flight trying to like run from bears. We have so much safety, and this is our war. This is our fight, is the fight of presence, and have so much grace that it's acknowledge that it's there. Wake up every morning committed to showing up, and also know that it's not like simple. And I think that's like also kind of what you were saying about the yoga. Like people might like, oh, just presence. No, like actually, like it might feel like death. Like it might actually feel like you're dying. Like it's not easy. It's really, really, really hard. But I believe that presence is Mashiach. So that's what I mean. There's only bliss, joy, and pleasure. When you can make peace with presence, you've arrived. You're like, and when the whole world makes peace with presence, well, you're going to be living with Mashiach. So that's our journey. That's our work. That's our, and it's like, and because this is the journey of our generation, because we are living in the times where presence is the battlefield or the battle, there's going to be every negative energy and Yetzer Hara and Satan trying to keep us from it, because the Yetzer Hara knows, because all the negative and evil forces know that if human beings were to become comfortable with themselves in presence and safe in their bodies, we would be an unstoppable force of absolute joy and harmony and peace, and that there would be no more war and no more pain and no more suffering. They are coming at us with everything they got to stop us from being present. So to just have that awareness and have that grace for what a journey and what a battle it actually is. And yeah, good luck.
Babe, can you take me back to this dog thing?
Yeah.
Because I don't really remember how you healed it. And like you just used it as a personal example, but you said something to the effect of like, you just have to realize that you're not actually in danger. But tell me about your actual,
Yeah. Well, I
tell
definitely
me
don't
about your
think I said
actual fear of
to
dogs.
just realize it's not scary. But what do you want to know? Ask it again. Take me back to.
Yeah. Tell me about the actual fear, and then how you got to a place where you're saying you have no fear of dogs anymore.
Okay, so I have a memory as a kid being chased by a dog. First of all, growing up like in a really like religious home where we didn't have a lot of, where there was 11 children and no animals, and there wasn't really like interaction with animals in a positive way at all. Not in a negative way, but there was no like go and is introduced to dogs at a young age. Like I wasn't around it. And then I had a negative experience where I was at a friend's house and I was like, we were chased by a dog in the park, and it was super scary to like ran as fast as we could to our house and like slammed the door. So I think that's the memory that I have, and I was always really afraid of dogs. Yeah, my sister has a memory of me like walking her in her stroller, pushing her in her stroller, and like a dog coming and me just like leaving her stroller and running. She's like, you just left me. She was like 2, but I was just like, peace out. I was terrified. And it was hard. There's a couple situations, mostly like it wasn't that hard because I don't really interact and know that many people who have dogs. So like, it wasn't like hard. It wasn't like facing this like, issue that I had this fear on a daily basis. But it would be hard in certain situations. Like we'd go down to Nyack and I would be like freaked out because people had their dogs off leash. I would just be like scared, and I would like hide behind you. And I just didn't, like there's certain places that I would want to go for a walk. But I knew like people had their dogs off leashes there, so I wouldn't go for a walk there by myself because I was too scared. It was just like there's ways that like it was just slowly like being like I was afraid to like just, I was like thinking, okay, if I go somewhere, is there going to be a dog there? Like we went to your brother's house for the birthday, and I was so embarrassed that I was scared of dogs. And I went to the car and I was like mad at you that you weren't taking care of me because like you weren't taking it seriously. And I was just so afraid and I couldn't just be with everybody else. And I didn't want to tell them to put their dog away because I've had so much shame about like being difficult and like whatever, just would bring up things. And how did I heal it? I mean, the first how I healed it was so it was like it's like lots of little things, but like the first time I went to sit with ayahuasca, they had a dog, and when I got to it was like in Brooklyn in an apartment, and when I got there, I'm like, I'm not going in, like I'm not like, and he's like, no, 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 like it's a nice dog, and like people love to say that, and I'm just like, and I with friend, and she's like, no, she's really afraid of dogs. He's like, you gotta put the dog away, and he was just like, but he ended up just like having the dog aside a little bit. And then I went in and it was basically like this really old, blind dog that like didn't really move and was just like there. So I was like in the room with the dog. And that was like my first real experience for an elongated period of time. And then at a certain point of the night, the dog like came to sit by me. Like, and I was like leaning on the dog a little bit and was giving me like comfort during my medicine journey, and it was like really comforting, and I also like felt like the dog like knew that I needed that healing, and so I um that was like a beginning of like, oh, okay, interesting, like I interacted with a dog. And then um um yeah, I think that it involves a lot of plant medicine, all the interactions. But and another time when I was at a mushroom ceremony in Florida, they had a dog there, but this time it was like a really like more active dog, but I was like more like okay, like comfortable. And then on the mushrooms, I went to go like sit with the dog and pet the dog. Um, and it was just like I think through like plant medicine, which is when my nervous system was feeling safer, that I could now interact with. It's the same thing as pain. When did you feel you're able to go to your pain on the medicine because your nervous system is feels safer to be like, oh, maybe this thing that had alarm bells ringing that was so scary, I actually is not feeling so scary to me right now. So we go to our pain, and that's how we're able to heal our pain. Plant medicine, and so that's how I was able to interact with dogs. Then we
Yes,
were in the
I'm
city on
familiar.
MDMA. We were at the park, as the sun was coming up, and people started coming and walking their dogs, and I had this feeling of like, I really want to be near dogs. I really want, like, I just felt like dogs are going to heal me. I had so much love for the dogs. I'm like, I was like sitting there with you and like, I really, really want a dog to come near me. And then a dog ran away from their owner, like ran up to me. And I was like, I felt like I was like, and then we were talking to that other guy with the dog. And then there was a dog park across the street. And I was like, we need to go into, so we just went and sat together as we were like coming off of MDMA, just sat in the dog park without a dog and just talking to the dog owners and just like, and I remember like the dog was coming up to me and be like, ruff, ruff, like really barking. And I was like, you're not scary. Like, cause I had the MDMA. I'm like, you're just saying hi. Like I was able to look at it and be like, you're not, and where normally I'd be like, this is terrifying noise and you want to bite my head off. I was like, you're not scary at all, And then, and yeah, and then slowly, I still wasn't comfortable with it because I had never really become comfortable. But slowly after that, I was definitely not afraid anymore, like I wasn't. And I was just like, because I wasn't afraid anymore, I would then have experiences where I was like a little bit closer to dogs. So like, I'd be like, oh, like I would pet a dog and I would this. And like now, like I don't think I'm like super comfortable with dogs still. Like it's still like a new thing, but I'm not afraid at all. And I want to get a dog. So it's really full circle. So yeah, there's, I guess, like all of the ways that I did that was through um, journeys, plant medicine journeys, and I don't think that you have to do it like that. I think I could have gone to like exposure therapy and whatever, and done all sorts of different things. But I think that's definitely one of the quickest ways and easiest um, in a way. Not that ayahuasca's easy or any of this stuff's easy, um, but yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it doesn't just sound quickest and easiest. It also sounds just the most integrated and organic. It wasn't like, I have a fear of something and now I'm gonna go to war with my fear and I'm
Hmm.
gonna overcome it, and
Force myself into
yeah.
situations like exposure therapy where I'm terrified, but then eventually, like, no, like, it was very, and this is over the course of many years. This is over the course of 4 years, where from my first ayahuasca, where there was a dog, to that MDMA um, time that I'm speaking of was 4 years later. So it was like I was not in any rush. I wasn't trying to, even though, our oldest son has been begging us to get a dog for a long time and is always asking, when are you going to deal with your fear of dogs? When are you going to get over it? When are you going to, and it was always something like, I really want to. Oh, that's another reason why it was like in the way of our actual life. And I was like, always like, yeah, I'm going to deal with it. But I wasn't, I knew that I had so much going on because so much was opened up for me when we got, I mean, this ayahuasca was before we got separated or during? During or right before? I think it was, no, it was during our separation. Yes, it was during our separation this first time I did ayahuasca. So there was so much going on for me. My fear of dogs was not a
Mhm.
priority. Like, I was like, am I going to stay married? What's going on? Am I going to die? What's going on? Like, nothing is working. We had, dealing with things with one of our children that was like so challenging and difficult, and like felt like we were going through hell. So like, this was not on the front burner whatsoever. Like, my fear of dogs was not like one of my problems in life. Um, so over the course of 4 years and different, just softening and healing and creating more safety in my body. And uh,
Mhm.
but I think the phobia is like a really good example, like a really good parallel or analogy for like healing, because there's two approaches to it. There's just avoiding the thing your whole life, or there's feeling the fear. And I think many people, when it comes to healing, they just find ways to avoid it their whole life. How do you avoid it? By not being present, right? How do you avoid healing and feeling and dealing with your things that you're afraid of that are actually inside your own body? So it's not like this dog that you can actually like create some sort of a fence around, but it's like in yourself. How do you avoid the phobia that you have of your own pain? Is by not being present. That's how you avoid it. It's like the easiest thing. The not the easiest thing, and it has all sorts of um, negative side effects for your life, but it really works. But the main thing that it's good for, and it really helps people survive a fear of their own system. A fear of being with yourself. I mean, like, how scary is that? Are yourself. You're with yourself the whole time, but it's actually so terrifying what you're going to find inside if you slow down and stop. So you just find ways to never do it, and people find ways to do that by being busy all of the time, with even with good things, right? Whether it's saying the whole Tehillim every single day or whatever it is, or trying to save the world, or multitasking, or creating and manifesting false problems in their life so that they could not false problems, they actually are experience them as real problems, but that they say they don't want, but they actually love having, because anything to avoid their own actual presence with their pain. And like I said, I think our generation is a generation where we're like facing those demons. We're turning inward and we're saying, I'm not afraid to face you and to fight, you know? And it's like like with Yaakov and the angel, like he was someone who ran from conflict his whole life, and he avoided conflict and just wanted to be in the peace, right? Just want to be in the light, don't want to be in the pain, just want to be in the light, helping, light, avoid conflict at all costs. And when he faced the Malach, and he was basically said, all right, I'm addressing you. I'm looking at you. Pain, darkness, evil, discomfort. I'm just, instead of running, I'm turning around and facing you. And when he did that, and when he won the battle, which the battle was won the second he turned around, essentially, um, he became Yisrael, and he became the leader of the Jewish people, which would not have been possible if had he not turned around and faced himself, his shadows. And like that's what we're all being called into. And it's really hard and scary. And also, there is so much grace required for the parts of us that don't want to do that. And for those of us who aren't doing it or who haven't, or for previous generations who haven't, that wasn't their battle. That wasn't their battle. They had other things that they were dealing with. And it's extremely, extremely difficult. And just, I think holding space for that is important. And having grace for the journey and also like being proud of yourself for like what it is, even if some of the world doesn't understand, like, oh, what are you actually struggling with? Like what's the problem? Everything looks so good. What are you struggling with? It's like, no, like it's real.
Get the direct behind the scenes, much your little hand motions. This is a non-production production.